The massive council chamber was quiet but tense. Hundreds of alien delegates filled the seats, their eyes fixed on the humans sitting at the front. Captain Han Jae-sung, the lead human diplomat, kept his face calm. He did not speak yet, but he could feel the weight of hundreds of eyes watching, judging. The council had always treated humans with a mix of respect and envy, but today the balance was breaking. Jae-sung glanced at his colleague, Commander Park So-eun. Her expression was serious. Both of them understood what was happening. The council wanted to push humanity down, to make humans feel small. They had accused humans of interfering in border conflicts, of using their intelligence to manipulate other species. The accusations were false, but the council seemed to enjoy hearing them anyway. The first voice rose from the chamber. A tall, green-skinned alien with long, thin fingers pointed at Jae-sung and shouted, "Humans think they are better than everyone. They must be punished. They have no right to interfere in our borders." Jae-sung kept his eyes on the speaker. He said nothing. He waited. Another delegate, a blue-scaled creature with 4 eyes, spoke next. "Their technology is dangerous. They give advice that others do not need. Their interference causes wars. We must limit them." Jae-sung's hands rested on the table in front of him. He could feel his heartbeat, steady but strong. He had come to the council many times before. He had always spoken with calm words, with reason, but today was different. Today the council was not interested in reason. They wanted to punish. The votes began. One by one, alien species raised their holographic signs, agreeing to sanctions. Trade with humans would be limited. Access to advanced technology would be cut. Humans would be watched more closely than any other species. The chamber filled with chatter and whispers as the decision became clear. The council believed they had won. Jae-sung stood slowly. He did not raise his voice. He did not argue. He simply stood, straight and tall, and walked out of the chamber. His footsteps echoed softly. Behind him, Commander So-eun followed. No human spoke. No human protested. The silence itself was a statement. Outside, in the council corridors, the aliens whispered among themselves. "They left without fighting," one said. "They do not care," said another. "Humans are weak," a third added. They thought that by removing humans from their plans they had gained power. They did not understand what they had done. Back on Earth, Jae-sung and So-eun met in a secure room. They were not angry, at least not in the usual way. They were calm. The humans had made a choice. For centuries, humans had been part of the galaxy, helping with technology, medicine, and diplomacy. Humans had tried to teach other species to work together, to solve problems peacefully. But now the council had crossed a line. "We will not speak to them anymore," Jae-sung said quietly. So-eun nodded. "Let them see what happens without us." They began to plan. Humans would stop all communication. No messages, no trade, no diplomats. The galaxy would think humans were gone. They would not be gone. Humans were still strong, still intelligent, still powerful. But for the first time, they would watch in silence. They would let the galaxy feel the absence of their presence. Meanwhile, on the neutral space station, council members celebrated. They believed they had humbled humanity. They did not notice the glances exchanged among the humans before they left. Those glances carried a warning. Weeks passed. At first, the council felt relieved. Human ships no longer appeared. Human messages stopped. Planets that relied on human medicine and guidance began to notice gaps. A small outbreak of disease on a trade world caused panic because human doctors were not there to help. A border dispute escalated because humans were not there to mediate. The council began to worry, but they were too proud to admit it. They sent probes, observation ships, and diplomatic messages. All went unanswered. Humans did not reply. The silence was complete. Inside the human colonies, Jae-sung and So-eun held regular meetings with other human leaders. They used new names for security, Korean names that were simple and easy to remember. Captain Kim Dae-hyun, a military strategist, spoke about defense systems being ready. Dr. Choi Yoonji, an engineer, explained that the cloaked fleets could monitor council space without being detected. Humans were ready. Humans were quiet, but they were never inactive. Jae-sung looked at the council's response, or lack of it, through hidden monitors. He saw alien leaders talking among themselves. Their confusion grew. "Where are they?" they asked. "Why are they silent?" They could not understand. No species had ever done this before. Humans had always negotiated, always talked, always helped. And now, nothing. One small incident highlighted the problem. A cargo ship from a distant system entered Earth orbit for a routine delivery. It found no docking signal, no guidance. The humans had disabled all external communications. The alien crew panicked. They sent a distress call to the council. The council sent fleets. Still, no response came. The humans remained silent, watching silently from the shadows. Back on Earth, Jae-sung addressed the human council. "They pushed too far. They do not understand us. They have ignored every warning. Now, they will feel the consequences of our absence." So Yoon added, "We do not seek war. We do not want destruction. We only want respect. They will learn that silence can be stronger than words." On the neutral planets, aliens began to argue. Some suggested sending a fleet to force communication. Others worried about the economic collapse. Without humans, trade networks were failing. Without humans, diseases were spreading. Without humans, conflicts worsened. The council started to realize the true impact of their actions. In the quiet lunar city, humans worked tirelessly. Ships were built and cloaked. Medical supplies and food were stockpiled. Every human colony contributed. They did not plan attacks. They did not plan to conquer. They only prepared, in case the galaxy ignored their warning too long. In one hidden base, Commander So-yoon walked among the monitors. Screens showed alien fleets moving toward the Sol system, believing humans would flee or surrender. So-yoon shook her head. "They have no idea," she whispered. "They do not know what humans can do." Jae-sung looked at the stars beyond the windows. "Let them learn," he said. "We have given them chance after chance. Silence is our message now." The galaxy continued without the human's voice. At first, the silence was ignored. But slowly, the consequences became clear. Trade slowed. Diseases spread. Conflicts escalated. Even the council began to feel the absence of humans, not just in aid, but in balance. Humans had been the calm in storms, the voice of reason, the stabilizer of the galaxy. Without them, chaos grew. And yet the humans said nothing. They only watched, planning, waiting. Their silence spoke louder than any words ever could. The first part of humanity's quiet rebellion had begun. The council believed they had triumphed. But humans had chosen a new strategy. They would teach the galaxy respect, not with words, but with absence. And in that absence, every alien species would begin to realize how much they had underestimated humanity. Weeks passed in the galaxy, and the silence of the humans weighed heavily on every planet. The council had thought that removing human voices would make their rule easier. They had thought that by punishing humans, the rest of the galaxy would follow their lead. But they were wrong. On a trade world far from Earth, merchants waited anxiously for shipments that had always arrived with human guidance. Medical supplies, food, and fuel had been delivered reliably for decades. Now ships that had left months ago returned empty or never returned at all. The local population began to panic. Disease that had been under control flared up again, and border disputes that humans had often mediated grew tense. For the first time, many species realized how much they had relied on humans. Dr. Lee Hanna, a biologist from a species with green fur and sharp claws, studied the patterns of disease and trade disruption. She had always admired humans for their ingenuity and patience. Now she felt fear. The humans had vanished. No signals, no messages, no aid. Every attempt at communication failed. She knew something had changed. Humans were no longer just partners. They were a force that had withdrawn entirely. Inside a hidden city on the moon, humans gathered in quiet rooms. Captain Han Jae-sung and Commander Park So-eun led the meetings. Their faces were calm, but their eyes were alert. Humans had planned for this. Every system was prepared, every fleet was ready, every contingency considered. They had built cloaked ships, secret medical stations, and hidden communication networks. The galaxy thought they were powerless. They were anything but. Jae-sung addressed the human leaders. The galaxy believes they have won. They do not know that every move they make is being watched. Every plan they make is visible to us. They pushed too far. They ignored our warnings. Let them see what happens when humans do not speak. So-un nodded. We do not seek war. We do not seek revenge. We only want them to understand the cost of their actions. They will feel our absence. Meanwhile, the council tried to continue their work without human guidance. Trade continued, but slowly and poorly. Ships arrived late or damaged. Systems that had relied on human diplomacy began to experience tension. Arguments broke out in council meetings. Some members admitted their mistakes quietly, but most refused to face the truth. Pride made it hard for them to accept that humans were essential. Small groups of alien scientists and diplomats attempted to study Earth and its colonies. They tried to learn how humans had solved problems, how humans had built technology and medicine. All their probes and research teams failed to find answers. Every human system was hidden, every fleet cloaked, every communication blocked. Humans were silent, but they were far from inactive. In one of the hidden bases on the moon, Commander So-un walked along a corridor filled with screens. Each screen displayed a different sector of the galaxy. She watched alien fleets moving toward human territory, believing humans would run or surrender. But the humans had prepared defenses that were nearly invisible. Any ship that entered human-controlled space would be detected immediately, and yet none were destroyed. The message was clear. Humans were watching, but they would not strike first. Captain Jae-sung joined her. They are panicking, he said quietly. They think the galaxy can function without us. They do not understand how much they rely on humans for balance, for reason, for guidance. So-un nodded. Let them learn. Let them see that silence can be stronger than any words. Far from human space, Dr. Hana continued her work. She analyzed alien communications, trying to understand why humans had vanished. She spoke to colleagues from other species. Humans are not gone, she said. They are hiding. They are watching. They have the power to change everything, and they are angry. Her words spread quickly. Across council space, whispers began. Humans are silent, one delegate said. They do not speak. They do not respond. Yet everything we do seems to fail. Did we underestimate them? Panic began to grow. Worlds that had relied on human medicine found themselves struggling to handle outbreaks. Trade routes broke down. Border disputes flared into violence. Even some of the strongest council fleets returned home damaged, because humans had anticipated their moves and prepared silent defenses. No one saw the humans, but everyone felt their presence. Back on Earth, Jae-sung held a meeting with other human leaders. Captain Kim Dae-hyun, a strategist, reported updates. All systems are stable. The cloaked fleets are in position. Any attempt to approach our borders without permission will be detected immediately. The Council believes they are safe. They are not. Dr. Choi Yoon-ji added, Our scientists have developed new medical supplies and food reserves. Even if the galaxy collapses, humans will survive and thrive. We are ready for whatever comes. Jae-sung looked at the group. This is not just defense. This is a lesson. They will learn that humans cannot be ignored, that humans are not tools to use or punish. Silence is our voice now. We do not need words to show strength. Weeks turned into months. The galaxy began to feel the consequences of human silence more deeply. Borders that humans had maintained peacefully began to fracture. Trade collapsed between worlds that had once relied on Earth for navigation and guidance. Diseases that humans had eradicated or contained spread once more. Even council leaders began to argue openly in public sessions, revealing confusion and panic. Dr. Hana secretly transmitted her observations to other species, but she could not reach humans directly. Every attempt failed. Humans are hiding, she told her colleagues. They will not help unless they choose. We have no choice but to adapt to their absence. In the hidden bases across Earth and the Moon, humans continued to prepare. They did not celebrate the Council's failures. They did not gloat. Their work was precise, disciplined, and quiet. The galaxy would not realize how much humans had controlled balance until it was too late. One day, a small alien fleet entered the outskirts of human-controlled space. They expected no resistance. They expected empty space. But sensors detected the fleet immediately. It disappeared from Council radars before a single shot was fired. The humans had remained hidden yet fully aware of every movement. The message was simple and clear. Humans were watching. Humans were present. Humans were powerful. And humans were no longer willing to speak. Captain Jae-sung walked along the observation deck of the main lunar base. He looked at the stars, at the distant planets, at the fleets moving unknowingly into positions humans had already anticipated. He felt no pride, no anger. He only felt certainty. The galaxy had been warned. The humans would not speak. The Council had pushed too far. Commander So-yun joined him. "Do you think they understand?" she asked. "They will," Jae-sung replied. "They will understand. Silence is not weakness. It is power, and they will see it before they can act." As months passed, the galaxy became quieter in a different way, not in peace but in tension. Every species began to feel the absence of humans. Every council session grew longer and more heated. Every trade route became more fragile. Every border dispute risked exploding into war. And yet the humans did not act. They only observed quietly, powerfully, and visibly. And in that quiet observation, the humans prepared for the day when the galaxy would finally recognize that it could not function without them. The silence of humanity became a force unlike any other. The galaxy had ignored warnings. It had treated humans as if they could be pushed aside. Now, without speaking a single word, humans had changed everything. The lesson had begun, and the Council had yet to understand the full measure of what they had unleashed. Months had passed since humans had withdrawn from the Council and the wider galaxy. The silence of humanity was no longer just a mystery. It had become a threat that every species felt in the depths of their worlds. Trade networks collapsed, colonies faced shortages, and small border skirmishes that humans once prevented escalated into full-scale conflicts. The galaxy was beginning to understand that humans were not just participants, they were stabilizers. On a planet in the Outer Rim, Council fleets gathered near a disputed border. Alien leaders argued heatedly over control of mining stations and trade routes. Without human diplomats to mediate, negotiations broke down immediately. The planet's inhabitants feared war. They sent a desperate message to the Council, pleading for intervention. Weeks passed. No human response came. Dr. Lee Hanna studied the reports from the front lines. She had never seen such widespread disorder in her long career. She realized the human silence was not passive. It was active, powerful, and intentional. By withdrawing completely, humans forced the galaxy to see the consequences of relying on them too much. Every crisis, every conflict, every failure became a living demonstration of human influence. Inside a hidden base on the moon, Captain Han Jae-sung and Commander Park So-yun monitored the galaxy. Large screens showed maps, fleet movements, planetary distress signals, and council debates. Every situation was under observation. Humans had anticipated the council's every move and prepared accordingly. Cloaked fleets patrolled critical trade routes. Secret medical depots and food reserves were ready to be deployed in emergencies. Humans were fully capable of intervention, but only on their own terms. Captain Kim Dae-hyun, a human strategist, spoke during a planning session. "The Council thinks they can restore order without us. They cannot. Every planet that depended on human guidance is struggling. Any attempt to intervene by force will fail. They do not realize the full scope of our preparations." Jae-sung nodded. "They will understand. Not through words, not through negotiation, but through the consequences of their own actions." Meanwhile, alien fleets attempted to push closer to human space. They believed that if they threatened humans directly, the humans would respond. They were wrong. Cloaked human fleets shadowed every movement silently. Any incursion was noted and recorded, but humans did not fire first. Their restraint was deliberate. It was a lesson in patience and power. Dr. Hanna traveled in secret to observe one of the outer council sectors. She had managed to hack into alien communications enough to monitor responses to human absence. She saw panic growing. Fleets arrived late, supplies dwindled, and medical crises worsened. Even seasoned council leaders could not hide their frustration. Some admitted that they had underestimated humans. Others still argued that human silence was weakness. The evidence was everywhere, but pride blinded them. In one of Earth's hidden orbital cities, Commander So-yun reviewed sensor readings. "They are trying to invade," she said, pointing to a fleet entering a nearby system. "They think humans will run or surrender. They are wrong. Jae-sung studied the readings carefully. Do not engage them, he said. They must learn. If we act too soon, the lesson is lost. Let them see their mistake. Humans had constructed a silent defense system unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. Planetary shields, cloaked ships, advanced sensors, and automated monitoring allowed them to track every fleet, every movement, every signal. The galaxy moved freely, believing humans were absent, while in truth humans were watching everything with perfect clarity. In council chambers, debates grew desperate. We need to force contact with Earth, one alien delegate said. Their silence is dangerous. Our worlds are suffering. Another responded, we cannot. Any attempt to enter human space risks destruction. Reports suggest their fleets are ready for any aggression. Panic spread as smaller systems faced shortages and crises. Trade hubs collapsed and isolated colonies struggled to survive. Without humans, medical crises spiraled out of control. Diseases that had been under control returned with force. Without humans to mediate conflicts, old rivalries erupted into war. The galaxy began to see what humans had always been, the center of balance in a chaotic universe. Back on the moon, Jae-sung and So-yoon continued to monitor everything in silence. Every decision, every movement, every misstep of the Council and other species was catalogued. Humans were not idle. They were observers and guardians teaching lessons through absence. Captain Kim Dae-hyun spoke again. If they do not understand by now, they never will. Their arrogance blinds them. They believe they can manage without humans. Let them face the truth. In a small corner of the galaxy, Dr. Hana recorded her findings. Humans are not gone, she said quietly to herself. They are patient and they are preparing. This is not weakness. This is strategy. This is power the galaxy cannot yet comprehend. Alien fleets attempted small incursions near human borders. Ships moved cautiously, scanning for signs of humans. Each time they were detected, yet nothing happened. Humans were everywhere but nowhere. The message was simple. Humans had the power to act but chose silence. They were not afraid and they were not retreating. Jae-sung walked along the observation deck looking at distant stars. He thought of the Council, of the aliens, of every system struggling without humans' guidance. They will learn, he said softly. They will understand the cost of their arrogance. So-yoon stood beside him. Do you think they will change? They will, Jae-sung replied. They will have no choice. Silence teaches what words never could. As the months stretched on, the galaxy began to crumble under its own mistakes. Trade routes collapsed, minor disputes escalated, and entire systems began to fail. Without humans, the fragile balance of politics, commerce, and medicine had shifted into chaos. The Council's pride had led them to believe they could succeed without humans. The truth was clear, they could not. In the quiet lunar base, humans worked tirelessly. New technologies were developed, fleets were upgraded, and medical supplies were stockpiled. They did not act aggressively. They did not interfere. They only waited. Every move the Council made was analyzed and every failure recorded. The galaxy itself was a lesson being taught silently by humans. Dr. Hana watched from a hidden station on a distant planet. She understood now what the humans had done. They are teaching, she said. They are not speaking, but they are speaking louder than any council session, louder than any fleet or weapon. The galaxy cannot ignore them. In Earth's secret cities, humans planned for the future. They would not act until necessary. They would not help until asked properly. Their silence was their weapon, and the Council's pride had left them unarmed against it. Every fleet that moved, every planet that struggled, every council meeting that ended in argument, reinforced the same lesson. Humans had withdrawn, but humans had not retreated. They were watching. They were waiting. They were preparing. And the galaxy, slowly, painfully, was beginning to understand. Humans were not just another species. They were not just participants in galactic politics. They were the force that maintained balance, and the Council had pushed too far. Silence had become humanity's greatest power. Every failure of the Council, every crisis in the galaxy, every miscalculation by alien leaders reinforced the same truth. Humans would act, but only when it truly mattered. Until then, they would teach the galaxy patience, restraint, and respect through the one thing no one could deny, their complete silence. The lesson was only beginning, and the Council still did not understand. The galaxy was slowly beginning to crumble under the absence of humans. Systems that had depended on human guidance now struggled to survive. Trade routes broke down. Disease spread in colonies that had once been healthy. Borders that humans had maintained peacefully were now tense and unstable. Every council session revealed frustration, anger, and fear, but no one knew how to fix the growing chaos. Dr. Lee Hanna traveled secretly to observe one of the outer sectors of the council. She had managed to intercept communications between alien leaders, and she could see panic spreading like wildfire. "They are struggling without humans," she said quietly to herself. "And they still do not understand that the humans are watching, that humans are prepared for anything." Hanna had always admired humans for their intelligence and patience. Now she understood that the human silence was not weakness. It was strategy. Humans were teaching a lesson through absence, and the galaxy was slowly learning the cost of underestimating them. Inside the hidden cities on the moon and across Earth, Captain Han Jae-sung and Commander Park So-eun continued their quiet surveillance. Large screens displayed fleet movements, planetary reports, and council debates. Every crisis in the galaxy was noted. Every attempt at aggression or negotiation was catalogued. Humans were fully aware of the chaos their absence was causing, but they did not intervene directly. Captain Kim Dae-hyun reported to Jae-sung and So-eun. "The Council is planning a large-scale invasion toward human borders. They believe we are weak because we have not responded. They do not realize that every move they make has already been anticipated." Jae-sung nodded. "They will learn. We do not need to act. They will see that silence is stronger than words. They will see that arrogance has consequences." So-eun added, "Our fleets are ready. Our defenses are ready. We do not need to attack. We only need to remain hidden, and the galaxy will feel our power." Meanwhile, Dr. Hanna continued her secret observation. She noticed that many species were beginning to panic. Trade and commerce were failing. Border disputes escalated. Even some of the council members who had opposed punishing humans began to plead in private for the humans to return. They sent messages, but none were answered. Humans had chosen silence as their message, and it was more powerful than anything else in the galaxy. Back on Earth, humans were preparing quietly, but carefully. Cloaked fleets patrolled critical sectors. Hidden bases contained supplies and medical resources. Humans were not planning to strike first, but they were ready for any threat. Every movement in the galaxy was under observation, and every potential conflict had already been mapped and prepared for. The Council, in desperation, decided to send a fleet toward the Sol system. They believed that human silence could be broken with force. They did not realize that the humans were already watching. Cloaked ships tracked every council vessel, every maneuver, every calculation. Humans had planned for this scenario for months. They were ready for the council, but they would not strike first. As the fleet approached human territory, sensors in the hidden lunar base detected every ship. So-eun observed the readings carefully. "They think they are attacking," she said. "They have no idea what they are up against." Jae-sung remained calm. "Let them see their mistake. Do not fire. We will not strike unless necessary. This is a lesson in patience and control." The council fleet moved slowly, expecting no resistance. They were confident. They had assumed that humans would either flee or surrender. Instead, they were watched silently. Every move, every signal, every preparation by the council was noted, but no human action disrupted them. The fleet did not understand the power it faced. Humans were not absent. Humans were watching. Dr. Hanna, observing from afar, recorded the council's panic. "Humans are not gone," she said. "They are everywhere and yet invisible. They are teaching a lesson that the galaxy cannot ignore. They are patient, disciplined, and powerful." Inside the hidden cities, humans continued their quiet preparations. New ships were built. Sensors were upgraded. Food, medicine, and supplies were stored for emergencies. Humans did not celebrate. They did not gloat. They only worked quietly, knowing that the galaxy would eventually understand the cost of their silence. Jae-sung walked along the observation deck of the main lunar base. He looked at the distant stars, at the approaching fleets, at the chaos that was slowly spreading across the council space. He felt calm. He felt certain. "They will learn," he said. "They will understand the consequences of their pride and arrogance." So-eun joined him. "Do you think they will finally understand?" "They will," Jae-sung replied. "They cannot ignore us forever. Silence is not weakness. It is power. And when they realize it, It will be too late to undo the mistakes they have made. In the outer sectors of the Council space, smaller fleets and colonies faced critical shortages. Diseases that had been under control returned. Trade collapsed. Minor conflicts escalated into major crises. The Council began to realize that human absence was not merely an inconvenience. It was a force that they could not control. Dr. Hana continued her observations. She noticed that some Council members were beginning to panic openly. "We underestimated them," one said. "We cannot manage without humans. They are too powerful, too intelligent, too prepared, and we ignored them for too long." The humans, meanwhile, remained silent. They watched every move, but they did not intervene. Their silence was a weapon. Their patience was a shield. The Council had assumed that humans would respond, would negotiate, would fight. But humans had chosen a different path. They had chosen absence, observation, and control. On Earth, Captain Jae-sung addressed the human leaders. "This is the moment we have waited for. They are beginning to understand. They are beginning to see the consequences of pushing too far. We do not need to act. We only need to remain patient. Silence is the strongest weapon we have." So Yoon added, "They will realize soon enough that the galaxy cannot function without us. Every failure, every crisis, every mistake is a lesson we are teaching without saying a word." The Council fleet continued to move cautiously toward human space. They did not realize that the humans had anticipated every possible move. Cloaked fleets monitored every ship. Defense systems were in place. Humans were ready for anything. Yet they did not strike. They did not act. They only observed. Dr. Hana, hidden on a distant observation post, whispered to herself, "Humans are teaching the galaxy patience, strategy, and respect. They are showing that words are not always necessary. Silence is stronger than any weapon, stronger than any fleet, stronger than any law." As the months continued, the Council realized the depth of their mistake. Every crisis, every failed mission, every lost colony became a reminder of human importance. Pride and arrogance had blinded them. They had pushed too far. They had underestimated humanity. Inside the hidden bases on Earth and the Moon, humans prepared for the future. They did not seek war, they did not seek revenge, but they were ready. Every crisis, every threat, every potential conflict was mapped, planned for, and controlled. Humans had chosen silence, but it was a controlled silence full of power and strategy. Jae-sung looked at the stars once more. "They will learn," he said. "They will understand the consequences of their actions. Silence teaches more than words ever could." So-yoon nodded. "And when they finally understand, they will respect what humans are capable of." The galaxy, slowly but surely, was beginning to see the truth. Humans were not just another species. They were not tools to be pushed, punished, or ignored. Humans were the force that maintained balance, the guardians of order, the silent power that the Council had underestimated. The lesson had almost reached its climax. The Council had pushed too far. Now the galaxy would finally begin to understand that humans did not need to speak to show their strength. Silence had become humanity's weapon, and the galaxy was learning, painfully, the cost of ignoring it. A full year had passed since humans withdrew from the Council and the galaxy. The silence of humanity had stretched into months, and the effects were everywhere. Trade networks had collapsed. Border disputes had escalated into conflicts that threatened entire sectors. Diseases that humans had once controlled returned with force. The galaxy was in chaos and the Council was desperate. Council leaders gathered in an emergency session. Alien voices shouted over one another, panic clear in every word. "We cannot survive without humans," one delegate screamed. "They hold the balance of the galaxy. Every system relies on them." Others argued, hoping for a solution. "We must send a message," said another. "We must apologize, beg for their help. We have underestimated them, and now everything is failing." Messages were sent to human space, but no reply came. Days passed. Weeks passed. The Council's fleets waited near human borders, but no attack came. Humans were everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Their silence was absolute, yet it spoke louder than any words or threats. Captain Han Jae-sung observed the Council from hidden monitors in the lunar base. He had watched the galaxy struggle for months. He had seen their pride, arrogance, and impatience. He had seen the panic grow. Now the time had come for humans to speak, but only on their own terms. Commander Park So-eun joined him, reviewing sensor readings from the outer sectors. "They are sending messages again," she said. This time it seems different. They are begging for help, admitting mistakes. Jae-sung nodded. It is not too late for them to learn. But they must understand that help comes with respect. We will act, but only as equals, not as servants, not as tools. They have pushed too far, and now they must face the consequences of their pride. Across the galaxy, smaller fleets tried to approach Earth. They were careful, cautious, fearful. Every movement was monitored. Every approach was noted. The humans had built fleets and defenses unlike any other species had seen. Every council ship that entered human-controlled space was tracked, but no one dared act recklessly. Dr. Lee Hana, hidden on a distant observation post, recorded everything. She had watched humanity's silence for months. Now she understood the full power it held. Humans had not left the galaxy. They had withdrawn. They had taught a lesson in patience, strategy, and control. The Council had ignored their warnings, and now they were paying the price. On Earth and the Moon, humans prepared for their final move. Ships were upgraded, medical supplies and food were stored, and cloaked fleets waited silently near strategic sectors. Humans had planned everything carefully. They did not seek war. They did not seek conquest. They only sought respect and balance. Finally, the Council sent one last message, a desperate plea for peace and guidance. "We have been wrong," the message read. "We underestimated you. Please help us restore balance. Please accept our apology. Humanity, we beg you to respond." For days there was no reply. The galaxy waited, tense and uncertain. The Council feared what humans might do. They did not know that humans had already made their decision. They had waited, observed, and prepared. Silence had been their weapon. Now words would follow. Then one day the skies above the Council's capital world darkened. Massive human fleets, previously cloaked and hidden, decloaked silently. Ships filled the orbit of the planet, yet no weapons fired. The humans had arrived not as conquerors but as overseers. Every alien eyes turned upward in shock and fear. Captain Jae-sung finally transmitted a short message across Council channels. "We tried to be part of your galaxy. You did not want equals. Now you will live with the consequences of your actions. Humanity will help, but only on our terms. Respect will be given and expected. Do not forget that we are patient, but we are also powerful." The message echoed across Council space. Silence followed. For the first time, the Council felt the full weight of human power. They understood that every crisis, every failure, every struggle they had experienced was the result of human absence, and every moment had been a lesson in humility. Humans deployed ships to deliver food, medicine, and essential supplies to struggling colonies. The help was precise, measured, and controlled. Humans did not act out of obligation or weakness. They acted because it was necessary, and they acted on their own terms. Every aid delivery reminded the galaxy of human intelligence, patience, and control. Dr. Hana observed the fleet. She was filled with awe. "They did not need to speak," she whispered. "They did not need to fight. They simply waited, and now the galaxy sees the power of humanity." The Council convened in emergency sessions trying to understand what had happened. Every member admitted privately that they had underestimated humans. Every plan, every action, every assumption they had made without humanity had failed. They were forced to acknowledge the human strength, intelligence, and importance. Back on Earth, Captain Jae-sung addressed human leaders. "We have spoken," he said. "Not with anger, not with violence, but with precision. The galaxy understands now. We will help, but only as equals. They have learned the cost of arrogance and pride. They will remember it." Commander Sewon smiled quietly. "And they will respect humanity," she said. "They cannot ignore us again. They will not forget the lesson we taught through silence." Across the galaxy, the Council began to rebuild. Trade networks reopened, disputes were mediated, and diseases were brought under control once more. The humans were guiding, but they were not imposing. They had returned not as servants, not as soldiers, but as equals who demanded respect. Dr. Hana recorded her final observations. "The galaxy has learned the truth. Silence can be stronger than words. Absence can teach lessons that no speech ever could. Humanity has proven that they are not just another species. They are the force that maintains balance." Human fleets continued to patrol strategically, quietly observing without interference. The message was clear. Humans would act when necessary, but they would not be manipulated, ignored, or disrespected again. The galaxy understood that humans had been patient, that their silence had been a weapon, and that their power was undeniable. In the hidden cities, humans worked quietly to maintain readiness. They did not celebrate their return. They did not boast. They only continued their careful preparation, knowing that the galaxy had learned its lesson. Respect was not given lightly, and humans had shown that it must be earned. Captain Jae-sung looked out across the stars. "We have given the galaxy a gift," he said softly. "A lesson in patience, strength, and respect. We have taught them without fighting. They will remember it forever." So-won stood beside him. "And now humanity will guide the galaxy not as rulers but as equals. We have spoken, and they have finally listened." The Council, humbled and aware of its mistakes, accepted humanity's guidance. For the first time, every alien species realized that humans were not just participants in galactic affairs. They were the force that maintained balance, the voice of reason and the power that could not be ignored. And so, humanity had returned. Not with weapons, not with war, not with anger, but with silence followed by controlled, deliberate action. The lesson had been learned. The Council had pushed too far, and now they knew that humans would not speak unless it truly mattered. The galaxy finally understood the power of humanity.